It is Sunday afternoon, and nothing is due. You are lying on the couch, the light is soft, the house is quiet, and instead of peace, you feel a low hum of unease, as if you are getting away with something. Stealing, almost. But if this hour of doing nothing is theft, who exactly are you stealing from? Somewhere behind your eyes a timesheet is running. It does not stop when the workday stops. It logs the dishes you did not wash, the emails you did not answer, the exercise you skipped, and it quietly bills every idle hour against an account you never remember opening. You can hear it in the most innocent phrase you say to yourself, "I deserve a break." It sounds kind. It is actually a confession. To say you deserve a break is to agree that breaks must be deserved, that rest is wages, paid out only after the ledger says you are in credit. Guilt and debt were once the same word. Friedrich Nietzsche noticed that in German, Schuld means both, and he argued this was no accident. Our oldest moral feelings grew out of the oldest economic relationship, the one between creditor and debtor. To feel guilty, in this old grammar, is to feel that you owe something and have not paid, which is why rest guilt has that strange bookkeeping flavor. It is not the feeling of having done wrong. It is the feeling of being behind on payments. Every debt has a creditor, or should. Try to name yours. Your employer? They are not paying you for Sunday. Your parents? They mostly want you to be happy. Some future version of you. That person, if you ever met them, would probably beg you to lie down. The ledger in your head is full of entries, meticulously kept, and yet the column where the creditor's name should go is blank. You are servicing a debt that no one holds. The interest is real. The lender does not exist. A blank space like that usually means someone used to be there. Max Weber traced our work feelings back to a Protestant theology in which labor was not just useful but revelatory. Your tireless work was evidence, maybe the only evidence, that you were among the saved. Rest was not neutral in that world. Rest was suspect, a place where doubt could get in. The theology has mostly evaporated, but the reflex survived it. The way a path stays worn in the grass after the fence it went around is gone. You keep the books for a God your calendar no longer mentions. Notice what happens even when you do rest. You call it recharging. You say you are recovering, resetting, filling the tank. Listen to those words. They are all maintenance words, the vocabulary of machines between shifts. Rest, in this language, is not the opposite of work. It is a department of work, justified only by the output it enables on Monday. The ledger did not merely tax your leisure, it annexed it. Even your stillness now has a job. Here is the less comfortable thought. Part of you may want the debt. A life spent servicing an obligation has a shape. You always know what to do next, and you always have an excuse for the questions you are not asking. The empty Sunday is frightening, not because you are behind, but because, for one afternoon, nothing is owed, and a person who owes nothing has to face what their life is actually for. Guilt is a way of postponing that question indefinitely. It keeps you busy at the counter of a bank that closed long ago, and there is a certain safety in the queue. The philosopher Joseph Pieper wrote a small book after the Second World War called Leisure, the Basis of Culture, and its central claim still lands strangely on modern ears. Leisure, he said, is not the pause between blocks of work. It is not idleness either. It is a posture of receiving, the capacity to look at the world, at a tree, at music, at another person, without asking what it is for. The medieval world he drew on thought this receiving was the highest thing a human being did, the point the working was for. We have inverted him completely. We treat work as the point and rest as its servant, and then we wonder why the servant makes us feel guilty for using it. Think of the last time rest actually reached you. Perhaps you were ill, genuinely ill, and the ledger briefly accepted a doctor's note. Perhaps you were a child, on some endless August afternoon, before you had learned that time must be accounted for. What made those hours restful was not that you had earned them. It was that the question of earning had gone silent. Rest is not a payment. It is closer to weather or to being loved something you can only receive, and the act of totting up whether you have paid enough for it is precisely the act that keeps it out. You will be on that couch again next Sunday, and the hum will start, and you should not expect to switch it off by deciding to. A reflex trained for years does not resign because you read an argument. What you can do is notice the bookkeeping as bookkeeping. When the voice says you have not done enough to lie here, you can ask it the accountant's own questions. Enough for whom? Payable to whom? Held in which account? The guilt rarely survives its own audit, not because you win the argument, but because you finally see that it is a document, an old inherited document, and not a description of the world. Even the gentlest phrase we reach for here, "You are allowed to rest," keeps one foot in the old accounting, because permission is still something granted, still a stamp from some office. The shift on offer is quieter and stranger than permission. Your life is not alone. Nobody advanced you these years at interest, and nobody is waiting at the end with a balance sheet to see whether the naps were covered by the output. The hours you spend at rest are not deductions from your life. They are your life as much as anything you will ever produce. A ledger only has power while both parties believe in it. Yours has one believer left, and he is tired, and it is Sunday. You do not have to tear the pages out or burn the book. You only have to notice, some quiet afternoon, that the creditor's chair has been empty the whole time, and let your shoulders drop by half an inch. If this gave you something to sit with, that is what this channel is for. Small shifts in how you see your own life. I will see you in the next one.